So it's only March 3rd, but we're gonna start our peas, at least direct sow them in the ground. That's about 2 weeks earlier than normal. The reason I'm okay doing this, I've looked at the long-term forecast. We have about 10 days of pretty mild weather. And I'm gonna do one thing to give me a little insurance against any late, really cold weather. I'm actually gonna use these milk jugs to create a small greenhouse over the peas. It does two things. One is it increases the temperature in that little microclimate in there, especially for being this early. That's kind of important. It will protect them if we get some pretty cold weather later in March. And probably most importantly, if you listen, we got a lot of birds around here, and I have found they love snacking on peas. So putting this protective covering keeps them from digging them up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this milk jug, I'm just gonna cut this bottom portion off, and then I'll just lay that over the top of our seeds that we plant directly in the ground. You just want to make sure this is the transparent type milk jugs, not those opaque ones that you can sometimes get at Costco. And then I leave the top off to allow a little venting of hot air if it gets too hot, and then also a little rain can get in there. So we're just going to plant our seeds under here and then direct sow them into the ground and put this over the top. The peas we're going to be growing are these sugar snap peas. I really like these ones. You can eat them fresh at any stage, even after the pea seeds have formed. They stay nice and crisp and crunchy and not stringy. So I'm just going to pull back some of this mulch, and then I'm going to plant a few seeds. They're going to go about 1 inch deep. Cover those back up, and then I'll put the milk jug over the top. Now, to keep it from blowing away, it's nice to kind of gather up some of this mulch back, kind of tuck it in there. I got a few more of these to do, but I'll just do those on the time lapse. We'll get it done. All right, we're gonna direct sow some seeds now. I'm gonna direct sow arugula, and then what do you have?
Cilantro.
And?
Dill.
Great, let's get to it. All right, so I put a layer of compost here, but you can see it's got these pretty big pieces, and arugula is a pretty small seed. So we're actually gonna make a little planting bed of soft.
Ooh.
Here, I'll give you guys all some seeds.
Oh my gosh, those are small.
And now we're gonna try to sprinkle these on here.
Sprinkle, sprinkle. Oh, that looks nice.
And then everybody can take a little handful of this and just do a little sprinkle over the top.
Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle.
All right, and there's our arugula.
Yay!
So for our cilantro, let's take away some of the mulch here.
Bye-bye mulch.
All right.
Sprinkle them around. Why do we need like a milk bucket then?
It's going to help protect them from the cold. So now let's do our dill. Here you go.
Wee waddle, waddly time. Ah, that feels, it's like they're taking a shower. Or it's like, and their hair is growing. No, it's like it's raining. The seeds are the roots and their hair is the plant.
All right, one last thing to do. We're gonna put this cover on them. That looks great. All right, we're gonna get the onions in the ground. I started these on January 19th. Normally I wait a couple more weeks until mid-March to plant these, but we've just had such a string of nice weather, and the long-term forecast looks so mild that I think I'm gonna get them in the ground. So wish me luck, hopefully they do okay. So for my white and red onions, I'm growing Sierra Blanca are the whites and Cabernet are the reds. I grew the Cabernet last year and they were really great. And I wasn't all that happy with our white onions, so this is a new one for me this year. So I grew the onions in these flats this year rather than individual trays. We'll see how difficult it is to separate them, but onions in general have, relatively sparse root structures, so they usually are able to be separated relatively easily. So let's check it out. That is quite a lot of roots down there, so maybe this is going to be harder than I thought. All right, so a little bit difficult, but that looks like a nice onion seedling. Now, as far as spacing here, I'm doing 4-inch spacing for these. And if you could look at this little onion here, lots of times they'll have these really long roots. And rather than put it in the hole and have those kind of tangle up, I usually like to just give those roots a trim. And then that way when they go in the hole, they can kind of spread out and then go to all different directions. So I'm just going to place this in about a inch and a half deep or so. Firm it down. You can also tell that I trimmed the tops of these onions, and part of that is I'm taking a lot of the root structure off, and I want to make sure they don't have to support as much foliage up top. So trim the tops, trim the roots, get them in. I do 4-inch spacing. Wow, that was a lot of work. I have 7 rows, 32 onions per row. So what would that be? 224 onion plants. They are 4-inch spacing within the row and then 6 inches between rows. I'm gonna have some lunch and then we got a little bit more work to do inside. All right, we're back in the seed starting room. I am going to pot up some of these brassicas. This is actually the cabbage that we started in the previous video a couple weeks ago. So it's 2 weeks old. We're gonna pot it up into these 3.5-inch pots. So they're in these to-go containers. We have to get them out. It's the only semi-tricky part is just getting them out of there initially. But basically I just turn it upside down, do that, and then here they are. And then we're gonna carefully sort of tease these apart. So we can just keep dividing and conquering. Good. Great. And the last one here, just sort of gently, and then you can kind of tease those roots apart like that. All right, let's go ahead and pot these up into these 3.5-inch pots. Basically just filled it up with a little Pro Mix, and this is my seedling. You can see it has a pretty long root there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a hole to match that root. So we're just going to come in here. That's where the root's going to go. I'm going to take this. That's going to go down into the hole. And then I'm just going to firm the whole thing down. Just like that. Great. And then after, just take a little vermiculite. The vermiculite helps keep a little bit of moisture, kind of like mulch, on top of the soil. It also prevents fungus gnats from laying eggs in there. Once I'm done with that, I always just keep a little 10-20 tray with water right here and just place them in there and allow it to bottom water and get saturated before I label it and put it on the trays with the others. All right, last thing on the agenda after a really nice, productive day of gardening. Gosh, it felt good to be back in the garden. I'm gonna start my peppers, and what I have here is I have my little to-go containers. Let me quickly tell you which types of peppers we're growing this year. So first one is Altiplano. It's a Serrano style pepper. We'll probably just grow one of these because they tend to be pretty prolific, and you don't need too many of peppers this hot, in my opinion. We're also growing this Carmen sweet pepper. It's a pepper we grew last year. It has sort of a longer shaped, thick-walled sweet pepper, pretty disease resistant, did really well. Mellow Star is another pepper that we're growing. It is a shishito pepper, and we recently had one at a restaurant that was charred and it was super tasty, so we're excited about these. The Ringleader jalapeno, it's a nice hybrid. It grows bigger than average jalapeno style peppers. Jimmy Nardello, this is a pepper we've grown in the past. We actually didn't grow it last year, but we want to try it again this year. Really great tasting. It's a thinner walled sweet pepper, actually similar in shape to the shishitos. And then our favorite tasting pepper is a poblano. We really like that spicy pepper flavor without the really hot spice. So we're gonna grow the traditional poblanos and then 2 other hybrids to just see which ones we like the best. So this poblano, the Big Boss Man hybrid, great name. And competing for a great name, the Massivo hybrid pepper, also similar to poblano in shape and taste. So I'll just go really quick through how we do one of these, and then I'll quickly do the others. First, I'm going to get a name tag. We'll do the poblano first. And on these, I lay the name tag down because it's going to have this humidity dome over the top of it. For the poblanos, we're going to do 2 of each of those 3 types. And generally, I like to start twice the number of plants that I need. So I'm going to start 4 of these. If you have really old seeds, you can do more if you are unsure the germination rate. I'm just going to make 4 little indents here. I'm just going to do 1 seed per indent, just about 1/4 of an inch deep. Gently close that over. I'm going to water this in. Usually about 3 ounces of water in these containers. I do like to put a little bit of vermiculite over the top just to prevent algae growth. And once the top's off, it also helps prevent fungus gnats from laying their eggs in there. We're going to go ahead and close the top with this little humidity dome. And then I'm just going to put this on an 80 to 85 degree heat mat. Now I'm just going to repeat the process for these 7 other types of peppers here. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. Thanks for coming along on this journey as we sort of opened up the garden season 2024. Happy gardening, everyone.